let's start in alphabetical order this time since we went reverse the last time we talked. So, Group A, just for a recap, Group A finished up with Netherlands on top on 7 points, followed by Senegal with 6, Ecuador with 4, and Qatar with 0. My first question for you, I think this is a pretty, I'm giving you a softball one here. There's a pretty easy answer for this one, but you had mentioned, I think, a couple episodes back that Qatar had actually pulled all of their players out of their club teams and had them train specifically together for, I want to say you said like years leading up to this World Cup. Does that work?
That is true. It definitely didn't. It worked. It worked because we got to laugh at them a little bit.
That's true.
If I can remember correctly, and I'm trying to find it. Um, I don't see it there. It was a while ago, but there were rumors going around that the Qatari national team basically pulled their entire roster the second that they were awarded like the free host spot for the World Cup, and just train them together as a group. 20, 2020, when was it awarded? 2019, 2020, around then.
Yeah,
No,
sounds
probably
about
earlier
right.
than that. It was no, it was 2017. It was 5 years. 2017.
Hmm.
Um, and had them train together as a group with Felix Sanchez for 5 years straight to gain the chemistry and the tactics and the ability um, to play together as a group. And it completely backfired. I
Yeah,
mean,
to
I
say the
mean
least.
the single worst performance of any host nation ever. They were done by the second game. They scored one goal. They had the worst goal differential of any host. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Um, just completely embarrassing from the hosts. You thought, I thought, I won't say you, I thought after seeing them in the 2019 Gold Cup, um, and their performance in the Asian Cup, that they would have a much better showing, and they just
Yeah, that's a
terrible.
good way to describe it. They just completely fell apart. I don't know what it is either, because like you said, I mean, we saw them play much better than they did in this tournament. I mean, it was still going to be an uphill battle for them to get out of this group, but it wasn't even close for them. I mean, they looked awful.
Yeah, the score lines don't highlight how comically bad this group was. If you went back and watched the replays, I'll just pick the first two games, right? Against Senegal and against Ecuador. In against Ecuador, you can say it was nerves, right? The 5 years they've been training, waiting for this moment, and then the first play of the game, goalkeeper goes to get it, slaps at it, misses it, tap in for a goal, gets lucky, gets called back for offside, right? They pull that goalkeeper because he wasn't good enough. Put the backup in. The backup goes to keep possession out of the back, swings and misses at a ball. Like, they looked like a semi-pro team. Now again, the Qatari League, which is where all these players come from, is it anything better than USL? Probably not, if we're being realistic, right? That being said, you would expect a team that's basically played together for the last 5 years to put up some sort of a fight, and they just looked shocking.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to put that. One of the things that I kind of took away from this group is just how ruthless the World Cup is. Because I thought Ecuador were the best team in this group for the first two games of the tournament, or at least for the group games, and they didn't even make it into the knockouts because of one game. It's just wild to me how you have to be like you can't take a game off in the World Cup, and Ecuador to me proved that because they slipped up in one game against Senegal, where all they needed was a result, like a draw, and they were through. But they slipped up one game and they were out. I thought for the first two games they at least looked on par with the Netherlands, arguably better. So the best they looked like the best team in the group, and now they're out. It's just
Yeah,
wild how ruthless it is.
it highlights how difficult it is to win that tournament, right? Because not only do you have to be basically perfect through 3 games or very lucky, right? Ecuador were very unlucky in the fact that I would agree. I think they were very, very strong in their opening 2 games. Um, However, the other teams were as well. That's kind of the tough part when you get handed an opponent that basically is I don't want to say a free win, but for all intents and purposes, each team got 3 points off of that. So you're playing in a 3-team group,
Mm-hmm.
which means you drop points and you're basically out.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And it's harsh, right? And then you go out into the knockout stages and it happens again, right? It's 90 minutes, win or go home. Maybe you get 120. You're right. You phrased it very well. You don't get to take a day off. You don't get to take a game off or a playoff. Uh, and that's why the depth is so important in certain squads, right? And um, you saw the United States get hurt by that, right? We'll talk to them in a little bit, but they go into the Netherlands game with essentially their third choice striker because their top one got hurt, their second one didn't fit the bill. Maybe it was a tactical thing because Greg thought he was going to big brain Louis Van Gaal, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get angry, but um, either way, right? We didn't have a starting caliber number 9, let alone the depth to handle tactical changes like. So the depth of a team is almost nearly as important, if not more important, than the starting 11 themselves, right? Uh, Wales, and we'll get to them in a little bit. Same thing, right? They had a few injuries, a few suspensions, and their quality dropped massively once they got to their bench.
Yeah, I that's what I think when I look at the Ecuador team as well. I I say to myself, if Ener Valencia went down, what happens to this team? Yeah, it almost feels to the point where you could see them rivaling Qatar for the bottom of the group because he held so much weight for that team. And I know that they have a lot of other quality players in that team, but he scored. I mean, I know he scored the first three. I'm checking really quick. Okay, so Caicedo got the last one. So he scored 3 out of the 4 goals for them this tournament. Without him, this probably wouldn't have even been a competition down to the end. I mean, I think Senegal and Netherlands probably would have just ran away with it. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think having good depth is absolutely important because one guy goes down, you can't afford to slip up for a game. So next guy's got to be ready to step in.